Back here on CBS Sports HQ, where we have breaking news from college football. Texas is the #1 team in the preseason coaches poll for the first time. The Longhorns' Week 1 opponent and reigning champ, Ohio State, comes in at #2. Texas received 28 first-place votes to OSU's 20. The last preseason #1 to win it all was Alabama back in 2017. Penn State, as you see there, is third, followed by Georgia and Notre Dame in the top 5. The AP preseason top 25 will be released next Monday. We, of course, will bring that to you here on CBS Sports HQ as the season kicks off in less than 3 weeks on August 23rd. For much more on this, let's go ahead and welcome in our own Brad Crawford and Chip Patterson. Guys, great to see you. Chip, I'll just start with you. Your reaction to Texas being #1.
Oh, what a time. I mean, we don't even talk about Texas being back anymore, right? I mean, this is it. They're here. The Texas Longhorns era has arrived. The Arch Manning era has arrived. Now, I understand that we've got a tight split for #1, which for someone like me makes it exciting because we have a real debate among the best teams in the country. We've also got first-place votes as far down as #6, with the Clemson Tigers picking up just 2 of those from the coaches. Coaches always do seem to like Dabo, but ultimately, I think the split that we see at #1 and 2 reveals that no one truly knows who the #1 team is in college football. The thing that is so great for us is that we get to see those teams play early on in Week 1.
I'm actually not surprised that Texas is #1 because you look at the roster they have coming back. Despite losing some talent to the NFL draft, you've got Arch Manning, the Heisman frontrunner preseason. You've got a loaded defense with 2 or 3 potential top 15 picks in next year's draft. And you have a schedule that, by SEC standards, it's not as difficult as some. Obviously, Chip mentioned the opener to Ohio State, huge game for both teams. But I like Texas, too, and I'm not surprised that Texas is the top team in the SEC over Georgia there in that 4th spot.
All right, Brad, so you're not surprised with Texas being #1. Chip, I maybe kind of lean more with you. This is kind of a really tight split for who is the #1 team in the nation, and it really does get interesting because of what you mentioned. It's going to be 1 versus 2. Week 1, Texas at Ohio State. Chip, what are your expectations for that game?
I think the Longhorns are prepared to go in and win it, and it's because of what Brad was saying in terms of the advantage they have with continuity. There were so many players off last year's Ohio State team that could have been playing in the NFL last year, but instead were helping the Buckeyes go on that incredible run through the college football playoff. So it is not just the talent that is lost, it is the experience, it is the leadership. And while Ryan Day has spent a lot of time at all of his position groups, but especially at the quarterback position, trying to get Julian Say and Lincoln Keenholz to get them to understand of what Will Howard meant to that Buckeye squad, it's going to be really, really tough to have it from the jump against the toughest opponent on your schedule. Now, they do get it in their house, so that's going to be an advantage. But I expect that this Texas team, which has, unlike Ohio State, same offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator, a lot of staff continuity, I just expect Texas to be a little bit more buttoned up from the moment that the season starts. So I lean Texas in terms of picking that game, but it will be one where both of these squads are going to know everything that they need to improve on, all of their strengths and all of their weaknesses, and both of these teams will enter their conference races as the favorite to win.
This is a brand new team for Ohio State, and I'm with Chip. I am a heavy Texas lean straight up in this game. The line opened at 3.5. Now you see it's down to 2.5. But you talk about what Ohio State lost, not just offensively with Will Howard and 4 starting offensive linemen, but the entire front 4 defensively. And then you have Eldrick Houston, who is dealing with an ankle injury. You signed Bo Atkinson out of UNC out of the portal. There's a lot of new starters on that defensive side of the ball for Matt Patricia, the new DC there. You got Caleb Downs, returning All-American. But if I'm Steve Sarkisian, I'm going into Ohio Stadium and just running right at Ohio State and making that new-look defense show me they can stop the run. Texas has a couple of good backs coming back, and Ohio State, by the way, lost 2,000-yard backs in their backfield in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. So brand new team for Ohio State. This is not the same Buckeyes team that we saw in January beat Notre Dame for a national championship.
We cannot wait for it. It's going to be so fun and exciting. Week 1, it'll be the SEC versus Big Ten Week 1 matchup as well. 3 Big Ten teams, you guys, in the top 10. We'll go ahead and show you the coaches poll that was just released, and 6 overall as you see here. Brad, what should fans look for out of the Big Ten Conference this upcoming season?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Penn State, to be honest, did not receive more than 14 first-place votes. Obviously, James Franklin's probably one of those, deservedly so. You look at what Penn State brings back. This is the best roster that Penn State's had on paper in easily a couple decades. And we're talking about a team that finished a couple plays shy of reaching the final playoff championship game last season. You've got Drew Aller back. You've got 2,000-yard backs and Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. This gives the Big Ten, in my opinion, two legitimate title frontrunners in Ohio State and Penn State. And, oh, by the way, there's Oregon, who won the Big Ten in their first season last year, finishing unbeaten before losing to the Buckeyes. So 3 legitimate top 10 preseason teams. I think in the Big Ten, the coaches got it right.
Yeah, I think Penn State's going to be my pick to win the national championship. I think that Penn State looks like Michigan from 2 years ago, Ohio State from last year. When you've got these players that have been around and have been so close, and then you come back with a little bit of extra motivation, that chip on your shoulder, and the understanding that you can accomplish better things for yourself individually in terms of your NFL draft stock than you could have if you had left, but also as a team that you've got to come back together and you've got to raise your level. I think that for Penn State, there is a little bit of, if it ain't going to happen now, when Ohio State's turned over the whole roster, when Oregon's breaking in a new quarterback, when Michigan is still getting things going with Bryce Underwood, like if they cannot seize this moment, then there's going to be some real disappointment and frustration. I absolutely am in line with putting them right there at number 3. But I think, again, by the end of the season, when we have to make our predictions of who's going to be winning that championship, I think Penn State can string together the extra 2 wins that they did not have last year.
Retweet on that from me, Chip Patterson. 3 feels right, but I'm taking that plus 750 for them to win it all this upcoming season. You know, I do want to pick on one team in particular here, the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame makes the top 5 after making, of course, the national championship last season. Chip, does this feel right, or should they be a little bit higher?
Last year, they lost so many players to season-ending injuries and still kept that train on the tracks all the way to playing in the final night of the season. That showed the kind of program depth that Marcus Freeman has. I think that that's going to be something where even after losing a lot off last year's team, even with sort of uncertainty at the quarterback when you're looking at C.J. Carr and Kenny Minchie, there is just a general trust because of the trials and tribulations that this Fighting Irish program went through just 1 year ago. I also think it's for Marcus Freeman, a coach who I probably made a bigger adjustment on than any other power conference coach when it comes to our coach rankings in terms of their ability to improve and navigate both during a game, but also everything that happens Sunday to Friday to get your team ready, because that Notre Dame team, after they had the loss to Northern Illinois, had a mental edge where they were ruthless and relentless, and that is what got them all the way to the national championship game. So respect for Marcus Freeman and acknowledgement of their program depth, given the way they were able to overcome so many injuries a year ago.
We'll see how they're able to build upon what they did last season. Brad, coming to you on Miami here. They cracked the top 10 with new quarterback Carson Beck. People are high on the Hurricanes entering this 2025 season. Explain this to me, though, because I am not on this train just yet.
I think they should be high, Jordan, because Miami has the second best roster talent-wise in the ACC behind Clemson. I think they deservedly are a top 10 team, one of 2 ACC teams I have in my projected preseason playoff. You look at the Miami offensive line, this is the best unit Mario Cristobal has had so far in Coral Gables. I talked to one of their personnel guys earlier this spring, and he says, I mean, these guys look fantastic. Not just the starting lineup, but the 2 deep as well. They added some guys there, and obviously they have a couple of top 10 first-round guys at the offensive line position. You see what they got at wide receiver, too. They lost Isaiah Horton to Alabama, but they picked up the necessary weapons in the transfer portal to surround Carson Beck with a lot of talent. So I like Miami's chances. We saw last season the Hurricanes lost that game late to Georgia Tech, which squandered a possible playoff opportunity. I think this time around, Miami has unfinished business and gets it done as an ACC playoff qualifier.
You got a lot of faith in Carson Beck to throw to his own team, don't you, Brad Crawford? We'll wait and see how that plays out. Taking a look here at 11 through 20, you guys. Chip, coming to you on this, representing the Big 12, Arizona State coming in at number 11. They're obviously the Big 12, a very competitive conference last season. What are you expecting from Arizona State this season?
I'm expecting Arizona State is having to deal with a different position of expectations. We heard Kenny Dillingham late last week absolutely ripping his squad to the media, coming out and saying, like, this was a fine practice for a 6-6 team, and if you want to go 6-6 or 7-5, today was good. I mean, he understands that the biggest enemy for Arizona State is complacency of looking back at being in the college football playoff and dominating the Big 12 and going to double overtime with Texas and just thinking that that's going to get you there, because it's not. That is what you have in the Big 12. That's what Kenny Dillingham learned in year one in the conference. The margins are so small. So they've got Sam Leavitt, and you understand that's going to be there. You've got Jordan Tyson back and healthy. That's good. But what are you going to do with the Sun Devils defensively? What are you going to do to be able to run the ball? I really like their pickup from the portal, Kanye Udo from Army, who I think is a very good player and can make sure that Arizona State still has a good balanced attack. But this is an Arizona State team that won on the margins. I agree with them being in consideration for one of these spots, outside the top 10, above the top 20. But at the same time, I know that is what Kenny Dillingham is worried about, is that they've got to make sure that they are playing at the highest level, because otherwise they're going to catch a couple losses and find themselves outside of the Big 12 title race, which is where they want to be back again in 2025.
Gentlemen, let's go ahead and wrap here with the SEC. They lead the way with 9 total teams making the preseason coaches poll, and we'll show that to you now. Obviously, Brad, Texas, the favorite right now to win it all. Is the SEC the league to beat, though?
I think it is, because the Big Ten has won back-to-back titles, and the SEC, as you see there, has 9 teams that potentially could make playoff reservations late in the season. Oklahoma is one of those teams that is not ranked, and that is my biggest surprise of this coaches poll, because you see John Mateer came in from Washington State. They also signed Jay Knott, former 1,300-yard rusher 2 years ago at Cal. Oklahoma not being in the rankings is a surprise. You have Tennessee there at 18. Now, they lost Nico Iamaleava to UCLA this spring. They signed Joey Aguilar, UCLA's quarterback, who came from App State. If you can follow all of these transfers, I think Josh Heupel may need to prove some doubters wrong to crack that top 15. But I like the SEC to finally unseat the Big Ten after a 2-year reign for the conference, because, like I said, there is half a dozen or more SEC teams capable of winning it all.
All right, gentlemen, great stuff. Chip's got to go. He's got a podcast to record because he's grabbing the boys, and Cover 3 is going to have the very latest breakdown on the latest and first preseason coaches poll that was just released for the upcoming 2025 college football season. You can go ahead and watch some of the preseason episodes and, of course, the guys' breakdown on this. Scan that QR code on your screen to watch and listen to the Cover 3 podcast wherever you get your pods.